I travel a lot for work, mostly solo. That's just the nature of the job. Different cities, different hotels. You start to get comfortable with being alone. But something happened to me in Chicago last fall, and I still think about it almost every night. I haven't told many people, mostly because, even now, I don't fully understand what happened. But I know it was real. I had just landed at O'Hare around 7 p.m. My company booked me a room at a mid-range hotel near downtown, about a 15-minute walk from the business district. It looked nice enough, sleek lobby, clean halls, the kind of place you forget about as soon as you check out. Check-in went smoothly. The guy at the front desk was friendly, handed me my key card for room 504, and said the elevators were to the left. I turned, dragging my small suitcase behind me, when a man approached from the lounge area. He looked to be in his early 30s, average build, hoodie under a denim jacket and carrying a backpack. He smiled. "You heading up?" he asked, motioning to my bag. "I'm on the 5th floor too. Want a hand?" I hesitated, but just for a second. He seemed chill, polite, and I was tired. I nodded and he grabbed the handle of my suitcase like it was no big deal. We chatted in the elevator. He said his name was Chris, in town from Detroit for a conference. He asked about my job, what brought me to Chicago, nothing too personal. Just that friendly passing conversation strangers have when traveling. When we got to the 5th floor, he rolled my suitcase down the hallway and stopped in front of my room. "Here we are," he said, letting go of the handle. "Welcome to Chicago." I thanked him, and he gave me a small wave before walking down the hall. I watched him until he turned the corner toward the other side of the floor. Then I went inside and locked the door behind me. I took a shower, ordered some takeout, and was just settling in for the night when the hotel phone rang. It was the front desk. "Hi, this is James at the front desk. I just wanted to ask, did someone help you up to your room earlier?" "Yeah," I said, caught off guard. "A guy named Chris said he was staying on this floor." There was a pause on the other end. "I'm sorry to bother you, but we don't have any registered guests by that name, and the cameras didn't catch him coming in through the front entrance. Are you sure he was staying here?" I felt something cold move through me. I assumed he was. Another pause. "If you see him again, or if anything feels off, please call us immediately, and keep your door locked." I hung up and locked the door again, deadbolt, latch, everything. I double-checked the windows too. That night I tried to sleep. Lights off, but the TV on low to cut the silence. Around 1:30 a.m. there was a knock. 3 slow knocks. Solid. Calm. I froze. It wasn't housekeeping. It wasn't urgent. It was casual, like someone testing to see if I was awake. I didn't move. I waited. After maybe 30 seconds, I got up, crept to the door, and looked through the peephole. Nobody. The hallway was empty. Quiet. I stood there, listening, heart pounding. I checked the locks again, then returned to bed, but didn't sleep. Around 3 a.m. it happened again. This time just 2 knocks. I sat up instantly. Didn't even check. I just called the front desk and whispered into the phone, explaining what happened. They said they'd send someone up. 10 minutes later, there was a loud knock. "Security!" I opened the door, and a large man in a black hotel uniform stood there. He asked me a few questions, did a sweep of the hallway and nearby rooms. Nothing. "Probably just a drunk guest knocking on the wrong door," he said. But even he didn't sound convinced. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. Next morning, I left for my meetings early. I told the front desk everything again in person, and they offered to move me to a different room. I agreed. They upgraded me to the 8th floor. New keycard, new room, new start. That night, I was cautious. I wedged a chair under the door handle, left the bathroom light on, and barely unpacked, just in case. Around 2:45 a.m., I woke up to the sound of a keycard unlocking my door. Click. Not a knock, not a jiggle. It opened. The handle turned, and the door pushed slightly inward until it hit the chair. I bolted upright. Whoever it was must have realized the door was blocked, because it closed slowly again. No footsteps. Just silence. I called the front desk immediately. They confirmed. Nobody on staff had reason to enter my room. Nobody was scheduled to clean. No maintenance orders. Security combed the floor and checked the camera. They told me later that the hallway footage for my floor had blacked out for about 3 minutes before and after the attempted entry. I asked to check out early the next morning. I found a different hotel across town and didn't tell anyone where I was staying next. I didn't sleep properly for weeks after that. I never saw Chris again. I don't even know if that was his real name. I still don't know how he got into the building, or how someone got a master key, or why the footage glitched. All I know is that I trusted a stranger for 5 minutes, and it almost ended very differently. I still travel solo. I have to. But I don't let anyone help me with my bags anymore, and I always check the locks. Be careful out there. Not everyone you meet in a hotel is supposed to be there. I was 19, a freshman in college, studying in New York City, thousands of miles from my family back in the Philippines. The winter break had just started, and while most of my friends were heading to ski resorts or crashing at dorms to avoid the holiday rush, I booked a flight home. It was a surprise. My mom had cried during our last call, saying how much she missed me. I wanted to see the look on her face when I walked through that door. I'd taken international flights before, but never alone. The sheer logistics of packing, getting to JFK, and navigating security in a pre-Christmas rush was exhausting. My layover in Dubai was long and painful, but it wasn't the jet lag or the stale airplane food that made the trip unforgettable. It was the man in seat 38B. I had the window seat. He took the aisle. At first glance, he looked like someone's quiet uncle, mid-40s, thin, pale, sunken eyes like he hadn't slept in years. His clothes were too neat, his black turtleneck pristine, hands clasped on his lap like he was in church. He didn't say anything until we reached cruising altitude. I'd put in my earbuds and was half asleep when I felt a tap on my arm. "You ever wonder," he asked, voice hoarse but calm, "how heavy skin is?" I blinked. "What?" "Human skin, peeled off, dried, hung like a coat." He smiled as if he was sharing a recipe. "Bet it's lighter than you'd think." I laughed awkwardly, hoping it was a joke. Yeah, never thought about it." He didn't laugh, just stared out the window and muttered, "I think about it a lot." I turned to the screen in front of me, pretending to watch a movie, but I was hyper-aware of every movement he made. He didn't sleep, didn't eat. He just watched. Watched me, watched the flight attendants, watched the other passengers with that same unblinking curiosity you might use on insects crawling across a sidewalk. He asked me where I was going. I lied and said Manila, even though I was headed to a smaller province. He asked if I lived alone. I told him my brothers were picking me up, another lie. He chuckled and nodded, but something in his smile said he knew. When the flight finally landed, I grabbed my things and bolted. I didn't wait for him. I didn't look back. Customs felt like salvation. Seeing my mom cry when I appeared at the front door made everything worth it. I didn't tell her about the man. What was there to say? I sat next to a creep on a plane? It would just worry her. I tried to forget it. Months passed. Spring semester flew by. I returned to New York, dove back into classes and city life. The encounter faded into a weird memory, something you share at parties when people talk about odd travel stories. Then I found the note. I was packing for a weekend trip. I hadn't used that bag since I came back from the Philippines. I unzipped the front pocket, looking for my old neck pillow, and instead pulled out a small folded piece of paper. It was handwritten, no greeting, no name. "I wish I could see what you look like under your skin." My mouth went dry. My chest seized. The handwriting was tight, deliberate. The letters slanted as if they were carved instead of written. I dropped the bag like it was on fire. I reported it to campus security. They shrugged. I wasn't being threatened, not directly. "Just stay aware," they said. "Let us know if anything else happens." A week later, I was scrolling through my phone during a late-night study session when a headline caught my eye. "Man arrested in international sting operation linked to multiple murders and kidnappings across 3 countries." The mugshot stopped my breath. It was him. The man from 38B. Same eyes, same turtleneck. A Swedish national wanted in Europe, Asia, and the US for crimes too horrifying to describe in detail. But one sentence burned itself into my brain. Victims were often flayed, their skin found displayed or missing altogether. I dropped my phone. I couldn't sleep for days. I kept thinking about how close he was. For over 14 hours, I sat next to that man. I shared air with him. He could have done anything. I still wonder if the only thing that saved me was the crowd, the public setting. Or maybe I amused him. Maybe he liked knowing I was terrified and pretending I wasn't. Maybe the note was his way of saying goodbye. Sometimes I dream of him sitting beside me again, only now the plane never lands, and I never wake up.